Hi, everybody. So for this discussion, you will read the case study below, and then using the knowledge that you've gained from chapter 2, the lecture and the reading, you're going to answer the question that follows. So the case study, Mark is a 28-year-old African-American firefighter who loves his job. Although it doesn't pay as well as he would like, he finds it a rewarding and thrilling occupation. When asked why he enjoys his job so much, he explains that when the alarm sounds, adrenaline rushes into his system, his body springs to life, and he feels alive. In addition to responding to fire alarms and emergency calls, another part of his job consists of giving talks to elementary school students about fire hazards and fire safety. When he gives these talks, the children look up to him, see him as a brave man, which makes him feel good. Mark admits that he enjoys the status associated with being a firefighter. The people he helps reward him with praise and thanks. They, like the school children, make him feel important and valiant. Even as a child, Mark was always seeking out high levels of stimulation and would often act out in order to feel rushes of excitement or gain attention. As a teenager and young adult, Mark consistently got into trouble at school and with the law. Mark was suspended several times for instigating fights, also for defacing school property. When Mark was 17, he was arrested for breaking into a public storage facility and was suspected to have committed several other crimes for which he had never officially been charged. As an adult, Mark continues to pick fights with others, has been involved in several criminal activities, for which he has never been caught, and has a substance abuse issue that he struggles to control. Mark has also not been able to sustain any long-term romantic relationships with the women he dates and has few friends and pro-social involvements. Mark refuses to get too close to anyone. In his experience, people only let you down or leave. Looking further at Mark's childhood, Mark grew up under very challenging circumstances. Mark's family lived in a very difficult neighborhood and struggled to make ends meet. Complicating things further, Mark's father, Jake, was in and out of prison during Mark's childhood and struggled with an intense alcohol addiction. When not in prison, Jake and his wife, Tasha, were constantly arguing, with several arguments leading to physical exchanges. After a particularly violent fight, Tasha left the house and never returned when Mark was just 11 years old. Her departure was incredibly difficult for Mark, as he had always felt very close to his mother, and led to a downward spiral in his behavior and increased poverty and difficulty for Mark's family. Through great effort, Mark's older brother carried the family through the rough times. Mark promptly left home as soon as he turned 18 and began looking for employment, eventually settling on his current career as a firefighter. So that's the little case study. Now what I want you to do is answer this. How would you explain Mark's behavior and pathology from each of the following perspectives? And these are the perspectives and models that we covered in chapter 2. So hint, think of key concepts and ideas from each perspective and use them to explain Mark's behavior and pathology. You're welcome to use a little bit of speculation, right, since we don't have all the information, in addition to everything given in the case study. Be sure to try and reference specific concepts from the book and the lecture to receive full credit. But what you're going to do is analyze Mark from each of the perspectives we covered, from a biological model, a psychodynamic model, behavioral model, a cognitive model, a humanistic existentialist model, and a sociocultural model. So for example, in the biological model, you're going to look for key biological contributors that might have explained some of Mark's behavior and pathology. So you could think of things like genetics might be one of them. But try and come up with a few ideas for each of the different models. And I look forward to seeing what you come up with.